Hey everybody, I am super excited to come to you today and share this video and this quick little presentation that I wanted to put together. I get contacted all the time by real estate investors who are frustrated in a hot market because they cannot get any deals that seem to make sense. They can't get any deals that make the numbers work. And so if I get on a phone call with them or something like that and we're talking about the numbers, a lot of times they're using some kind of percent off of the ARV type of a rule. So if you're not familiar with that rule, the 70% one is very common. They'll take what the property should be worth once it's fixed up. They'll take it and multiply it by 70%, and then they'll subtract repairs from that number. And that may have worked really, really well in other times and other points where there was more inventory, but in a hot market, it is going to be very, very difficult to get deals consistently using that formula. I'm not saying it's impossible, but consistently, especially if you are not marketing directly to a seller. If you're getting this through a wholesaler or you are getting this through a real estate agent or something like that, that rule is going to be very, very difficult for you to be competitive and consistently get deals. All right. Now, I'm going to show you guys exactly why this formula is broken. I'm just going to give you a couple of real life examples, and then I'm just going to talk real quickly about some ways that you can be more competitive and quit missing out on six figures. I'm telling you, like every deal that passes you by, if you run this properly, it should be 5 figures of spread in there, depending on your market. Now, if you're in California, maybe that spread's got to be bigger, right? Or in some other of those markets. But if you're in a I would say reasonably priced market, the 70% rule is going to consistently cost you money by missing out on deals. So here's a couple of real life examples. First one I've got here, I've got one this was actually in De Pere, Wisconsin, that we wholesaled, and it was 427 South St. Bernard Street. We put it out, we call it a minimum suggested offer for $159,900. Okay. Our highest offer came in at $175,000. So they went quite a bit higher than the minimum suggested offer. Our appraisal, so we actually, in our wholesaling process, we actually get them appraised by a third-party appraiser beforehand. Now, it's a desktop appraisal, so they aren't going through it, but they're looking at comparable properties, and they're saying, hey, if this property was fixed up to the standard of these other comparable properties, this is what the sale price should be around. Okay, this is what the appraisal would be. So they came in at $242,000. Our buyer actually sold it for $238,000, which is a little bit lower, $4,000, but it was a cash offer, no contingencies, and the buyer offered to close it in 2 weeks off market. So they didn't even have to pay any real estate commissions or anything like that, which has jacked up their profitability. Here's their total rehab and cost. Again, remember, they didn't have any realtor fees in there because they sold it off market. And they netted $42,000 on this deal. Okay. Again, closed it like boom, boom, boom. This thing, they didn't even have to make a loan payment to the bank. That's how quickly this thing was rehabbed and sold. All right. Now let's go through the 70% rule. So here, remember, we had a minimum suggested offer. They paid $175. The ARV appraisal was $242. So if we take that $242 and we multiply it by 70%, we're already below what these folks offered it for at $175. So we're already missing out on this $42,000 profit deal. Okay. Now, if we add in their repairs, we got a max allowable offer using the 70% rule of $148,400, which is well below even our minimum suggested offer. So you absolutely would have missed out on this deal. Missed out on $42,000 of potential profit because of this formula. It's costing you money if you're using this, I'm telling you. All right, here's another example. This is 1358 Smith Street in Green Bay. And I could do these all day long. Like, I could just keep running through all of these deals that we've done that we've been able to follow up with our buyers and know their numbers, okay? So we put it out for, it was a pretty low deal, $44,900, right? We got an offer in for $68,766. So good day for us, right? Made a nice little extra spread on that. ARV appraisal at the time was $110,000, okay? So still had lots of spread in here. Actually sold for $125,000. Good for our buyers, right? They made $15,000 more than they were expecting to make on this deal. All right. Their rehab and total costs were $22,234, and they netted $34,000 on this deal. All right. Now let me show you why you would have been missing out on this same thing. So here we go. We got the highest offer, $68,766, ARV of $110, Actually sold 125, doesn't really matter in this case, rehab costs. All right, so if we take 70% of the 110, so this is all the information they had to go off of making their offer, was 110,000. Multiply that by 70%, that gives us $77,000, okay? Now if we take off their rehab of the 22,234, so again, you won't know this, but you're going to budget for the rehab when you're going through making your offer. So if we just said take 25,000 or 20,000, right, it gets you in the ballpark. Their max allowable offer on this deal would have been 54,766. So above our minimum suggested. So you still would have been a player in the game, so to speak, right? But they were at 68,766, and they made $34,000. Okay, so if this was you and you were bidding on this and you're using that 70% formula, you just lost $34,000 because you used the wrong formula. Okay, here's another one. This is a rental property, so I'm going to show you why it's very flawed in a rental property. The minimum suggested offer was $144,900. The buyer on this barely above our minimum suggested. Not a lot of activity. This was a bigger project than some folks wanted to take on. It was a side-by-side duplex, and the ARV appraisal on this, and this was again the information they had prior to purchasing it, was $194,500. It actually appraised after they did the rehab and had it fully rented for $225,000. Fantastic. They stuck $35,000 into this deal. Again, a little bigger project than anticipated or than a lot of people wanted to take on. But they gained $44,800 in equity. So it's not dollars necessarily in their pocket, but they added $44,000, almost $50,000 to their net worth by doing this deal. And the best part is they have no money out of their pocket. This was a BRRRR deal. So they were able to refinance and pull all their money out of this, plus a little bit extra. Okay? So here's the 70% rule on this thing. It's very flawed on this one. ARV appraisal $194,500, rehab cost $35,000. $194,500 times 70% equals $136,150. Already missing out below our minimum suggested offer. Now you got to add in that rehab of $35,000. Your max offer using this formula would have been $101,150. So you missed out on almost $50,000 of equity plus the cash flow they're going to get for as long as they own this property from the rents, and all because you're using the wrong formula. Okay. So here's just a couple quick ways that you can get more deals, all right? Rentals, instead of using that 70% rule, do 80% of the ARV, okay? And the reason I say that is if you are talking to the right lenders, what we're looking at is what are you going to use for the long-term financing for this thing, okay? So if your lender, if you know you have a lender lined up that after you rehab this property that you could refinance with them, or maybe you pay cash and then take out a loan on it or something like that. If you know they'll go up to 80% of the future appraised value or the appraised value once the rehab's done, why are you offering less? You could even go higher if it cash flows, right? It depends on your comfort level of if you want to be leveraged higher. But if it cash flows and it makes a lot of money and you got to have a little bit of money in the game, so what? All right. But 80% ARV minus the rehab, that will get you a lot more deals, okay? Another way for flips, this has worked really well for us in our flipping businesses whenever we've been flipping. We set a profit goal or a target, and we use that to work backwards. So instead of a percent, because percents are flawed. As the purchase price changes, it's flawed. You're not going to get the same thing. What if you said, hey, every flip, I want to make $20,000, right? And again, if you're in California and you're buying properties that are $1 million, you should adjust that accordingly, right? Like because of the risk is bigger, you should try to have a bigger spread. But let's just say in a lot of just mid-priced markets, right? Just say $20,000. Maybe it's $30,000. Maybe you're like, hey, if I make 10 grand on every deal, I'm great. Like I'm straight. Whatever that number is, pick that target and then work backwards. So here's the example of that. First property I showed you guys, $242,000. If we take out their actual rehab cost, it'd be $21,000. So that brings you down to $221,000 would be their all-in cost. And if your goal is to make $20,000 of a net profit, you take the $221,000, you minus the $20,000. Their max offer could have actually been $201,000. Now, going into the deal, you don't necessarily always know that, right? Like you don't know what rehab's actually going to be. Like in this case, they had a buyer off market, paid cash, who that saves a lot when you don't have to pay the realtor fees. But either way, if their net profit goal was 20 grand, my guess is when they analyzed the deal, that was probably their profit goal, because if you add in some rehab or some realtor fees and stuff like that, that would eat up a good chunk of that extra amount above $20,000. So that would be my guess, is they used a $20,000 profit goal or target and then work backwards. So that's it, guys. There's nothing more to it. Just get rid of the percent rule, the 70% rule. It's broken. It's flawed in a hot market. You're going to miss out on 6 figures of profit, at least 6 figures of profit. I mean, you could be way more competitive in a lot more deals if you get rid of that 70% minus ARV rule. And some people are using 65% minus ARV. If you are getting that type of coaching or you're paying a mentor for that, and they're not teaching you how to talk directly to sellers, then you're never going to get those type of deals. It's going to be almost impossible in a hot market to get those, unless for some reason you're in a market where you don't have a lot of competition and it's working really well for you. Then in that case, be quiet and don't tell anybody that you're getting these deals, and just keep cranking them out, because it's not going to last long. People are going to find out and they're going to come start eating it up, and you're going to have to start jacking up your numbers a little bit. But that's it, guys. If somebody's giving you that information and it's too low, if you don't have the time to be dealing directly with a seller and you're getting this from a third party, a wholesaler, a realtor, something like that, you don't have time to be out spending money on marketing and going on all these appointments and talking to a million people, and you just want to buy some properties and you're using that formula, it's not going to work consistently in 99% of the markets out there. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it, guys, and hopefully we'll be able to do some deals with you. If you are looking for some deal flow, you can head to WisconsinDiscountProperties.com, fill out a buyer profile. If you're looking for some help on getting into the BRRRR program or on scaling your current business, head to CoreyandCarrie.com. That's CoreyandCarrie.com, and pick a solution that works for you and fill out a little application, and somebody from our team will get in touch with you. Other than that, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got some good nuggets out of it. And if you liked it, comment on it, share it, and help other people out there. Thanks again. Have a great day.